Well, I'm now joined in studio by political analyst Advocate Sipho Mantula for some analysis on the Zimbabwean elections, which are just less than 10 days away. Sipho, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It was interesting, today to see ZANU-PF particularly say we are going to address white Zimbabweans. Thank you, Mpo, and evening once more, Africa. Mpo, I think, remember, electioneering manifestos, they will touch the question of property rights. Zimbabwe 2002-2008 elections was highly contested around the land question, yes, which in South Africa we are calling it the national question. Now, if you are hearing the presidential candidate of the governing party assuring the white community that we will not touch this land question, I think it is worrying because Zimbabwe, it is still struggling. There was the issue of food security. Yeah. There was the issue of sanctions. There is an issue again around political activity of other political parties. So one can say this was to garner votes from that other race, or what you can call remnants white Zimbabweans who were left behind during the time of Ian Smith. But I actually differ, Sipho. I hold a different view because I'm saying they don't make a significant number to can really change or sway the election either way. Correct. Whether into ZANU-PF or MDC or whoever may be contesting. What I can say to 2013, what ZANU-PF struggled, it was in Harare. MDC garnered more votes there. And these white farmers are mostly in Harare, Chinoi. They are within the surrounding CBD. So one can say that they might be wary, they might change their heart now and say that the old man has left. Now we have the new guard. We have the new old president. We have a new old man per se. Yes. You know, Mnangagwa, I think he is trying to do what they are calling re-engagement, the international re-engagement, dealing with the issue of the foreign policy where they want to do the norms and values of the elections. Talking about elections, the observer mission there, are you happy with how it is structured? Well, we saw the elders, Kofi Annan was there with other former leaders going to observe. What's your view? You know, Mpo, in the AU structure, you have this Council of the Wise. Yes, the elders were there on Friday, Thursday, Friday, but I think the AU Council of the Wise as well looks at the issues of governance elections. Observer mission, in terms of the number, I'm not yet happy because SADC is mum on the number. AU have sent 55 members. And your EU, they will send hundreds. They will send analysts, they will send the field and media researchers and the media analysts. And you'll find that even the Carter Center, they will send more observers who will even be in Zimbabwe for more than 6 weeks. SADC goes for 3 weeks, AU goes for 4 weeks. So one can say election observer missions in the African continent need to be reviewed. In terms of that, are we looking at the free and fairness only, or are we looking at the whole electoral system? There are issues around ZEC voters' roll. Yes. That and even the hacking, that there was a hacking of the system. And secondly, you have the question of militarization. Yeah. That the elections might be under the military watch. Observers will not be in every polling station. Yes. We are talking here about 11,000 polling stations. SADC in 2013, I can assure you, we were 500 in the field. This year, like I'm telling you, they are mum, they don't want to talk, and South Africa is the chair of SADC. And Zimbabwe, it is our neighbor. So one has to be concerned to say that the role of the electoral observers is to observe and to even advise. You have monitors as well. Yes. So hence I say to you, it is very critical when you are looking at the electoral system. And maybe the other panicking button that I will send to you now is the electoral dispute resolution systems. how is Zimbabwe going to resolve the issues around election results? Once it has been announced within 7 days, how are they going to be dealing with it?
And by the way, I mean, I don't think MDC is really going to take this lying down, whether it be the Alliance or, you know, the other MDC. But they seem to have resolved that they are going into these elections to win it, and they would not accept anything else except a win.
You know, this reminds me of Kenya. That's what Odinga did. And I think, Chamisa, what is happening is that MDC-T and MDC Alliance, they are not united.
Yes.
And here we're talking about 5.5 million voters, mostly in the rural areas. Yeah. And automatically that tells you that they will vote for the ruling party. Challenge will be that if they will follow the due process, they want to rely on SADC and AU. I say no, rely on your electoral justice system, beef up your electoral court system, because that's where Zimbabwe is still struggling. The current chairwoman of the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission has been attacked several times on the key issue that we have the voters roll that have the ghost, or what we call the dead voters.
Yes.
And that is Kenya once more. Yeah. And there is this say that those dead voters, even during election day, they must not even come nearer to the polling station. They can rise from the dead, but they must not get closer to the polling station.
Well, Sipho, you've been an observer, election observer in Zimbabwe before.
Correctly.
What are you expecting? Anything new that may emerge with these elections? What is different?
You know, I think what has to be critical is if they can meet the regional standards, the norms and values of being legitimate, transparent, and credible.
How do you do that when South Africa comes and says, no, you know?
I know about it, that even report that was shelved. There was the report of Kampepe, the Moseneke reports. But I can tell you that what is critical is that if they can meet the regional standards. Second, I can say to you, 2013, we had a lower level of violence compared to the decade ago elections.
Yes.
So one can say that if we can have a peaceful elections, observers, their role is to point out challenges, not to sit down in their hotels and write reports.
Yeah, but you do that. You point out the challenges.
I've never stayed in the hotel. If I can tell you.
No, of course. not you staying in the hotel.
the villages, by the way.
Right. But I'm saying, you go there.
Yes.
You observe, you notice that things are not being done legit.
Let me tell you what is the key strategy. You have the head of mission.
Yes.
The head of mission gets the report. Within 24 hours, he goes to the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission. There is the challenge on the voters' roll. There is challenge on military presence in the polling stations. Remember, it must be the police. Now, I can say to you, interventions by observer missions that are proactive, participatory, and one can say reactionary as well, so that they can intervene. Monitors, they can intervene on the spot. Observers, you just observe, but the head of mission has the power to can engage authorities anytime. He can even summon them.
Yeah.
To can say that we are getting challenges in this area and area A and B. So I can tell you the issue again is the reports. Observer mission reports, many member states sit on them. They don't read recommendations, challenges. I can tell you Zimbabwe, the issue of voters' roll has been coming every election.
Yes.
The issue of military presence, it has been coming. The issue of the media freedom has been there. I can tell you Signal Gem can be there as well. You know,
food parcels.
The food parcels, and you know that they were even stuck with the shares of the former head, you know, Robert Mugabe, those shares from China, they had to dump them somewhere. So you have challenges in terms of the role of observer missions and the head of missions to give, one can say, an early warning, because I think the elections in Africa, they lack that early warning systems.
Why do you as Africans want to observe your own elections when you don't go and observe American elections?
I think you are plagiarizing the quote of Nelson Mandela there. Because Nelson Mandela raised the issue of why foreign observers, they are interested in Africa. I think for us, the international systems of Europe, it is not exciting like Africa. Africa, it is political power contestation. And it is through the bullet or the ballot. And it's either through elections or selections, because that's where you find leaders select one another into these offices. So that's why you need observers. I can tell you that the role of observers, again, is to just become what we call electoral peer reviewers, just to look at the electoral systems. And that's where I can say Europeans have now traveled to Zimbabwe after almost 10 years. And one can say that this is a good, positive sign.
Yeah.
Because it's the issue around investment once more.
But how should we believe or trust that observers that come from an NGO which is funded by China
is
going to be objective on Zim?
One can say that one should look at the 3 credible observer missions, which is your SADC regional.
Right.
You look at the AU. You look at the European Union. Because why EU? Because Zimbabwe is a former colonial state of Britain. But the domestic observer missions, I don't undermine them. I think their information is very credible, relevant, but once they look at the donor, now they become conditioned. Same like the Carter Center. You know, same like one can say the other civil society groupings that has been funded by the West.
Yes.
And one can say that they must build on the issues around civic voter education. They must build around electoral dispute resolution systems, because that's where in Africa we are still struggling.
What would you change in as far as the Zimbabwean election system is concerned, or are the processes leading to the voting?
One can say that clean the voters' roll, be honest on the issue of the voters' roll. Avoid the issue of military being involved in elections. Thirdly, allow all political parties to have access to funding. Chamisa has been bailed out by the former president. There was no money for the opposition party to contest.
Yes. What are you saying?
Robert Gabriel Mugabe gave Chamisa $25 million US. Last week, he gave him 12 cars because Chamisa was pushing donate for change. And you cannot ask for money to campaign when you are left with only 2 weeks. The ruling party has been having those coffers all along. So one can say that change even the political party funding system, that in South Africa we have changed now. We want the political parties to tell us who is funding you, that at a later stage you can give him the tender. So that's where we are trying to close that gap. And finally, I think in Zimbabwe, look at your age. You have Chamisa at the age of 40. Zimbabwe, it has moved. Their MPs, presidential candidates, they are above 21 that you can contest. And that's where in Africa we need youthful leadership. So that's where one can say change. And electoral system, I can tell you, Zimbabwe need to sign the African Charter on Election, Democracy and Governance. They've only signed it in March. They have to ratify it, make it into their national law. I think that's where they can change it, because they were very stubborn because of the coup of last year, which they were saying it was not their coup. So they have signed that charter in March. They must ratify it, comply with that African Charter.
Are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. I'm very, one can say, affirmative that the AU and the SADC will do their work, and electoral justice system must prevail in Zimbabwe.
Sipho, always good having you, my man.
Thank you very much, my brother.
All righty. Well, that was Advocate Sipho Mantula, of course, giving us an analysis on the situation in Zimbabwe, because he's been on the ground there as an observer, and he's done quite a lot of research work in that area.